How to not screw up your AI project. What if I told you that 98% of AI projects fail and that they fail for the same 4 reasons and that these reasons are completely avoidable? And what if I told you that there was a pathway to follow to avoid all of these pitfalls so that you can be among the 2% that do succeed with your AI implementation? My name is Rami Noaman. I've worked at Meta as a data scientist and a machine learning engineer, and I've led AI projects at many of the Fortune 500 companies that we know, love, and hate. My goal is to teach you how to avoid the same pitfalls that some of the most seasoned professionals fall into when they lead AI projects, and so that your company can successfully reinvent itself with the spirit of an AI startup. Let's get to it. This is the PRISM framework that New York Strategy uses in order to guide every single AI, data science, automation, and generative AI implementation that we serve our clients with. And so it's a step-by-step framework that has been distilled from more than 10 years of experience as the industry has evolved and has remained evergreen and timeless no matter how sophisticated the project is or what industry it's in. It's a step-by-step method that maximizes your odds of success in completing an AI project and avoiding the pitfalls that stumble many other leaders who are approaching their AI implementation in an arbitrary manner. Now, 98% of AI projects experience failure. And out of those 98% that fail, 95% fail for the same 4 reasons. That they experience their primary focal point of failure for one of these 4 reasons. Either their business objectives are not clearly defined, or they don't have the right data, or their data is not adequately accessible, or some kind of a security element derails their data availability and provision. They don't have the right expertise. So although we're talking about artificial intelligence, they don't have the right human intelligence and experience to guide them through their project successfully. And the 4th of these is that they don't scale and integrate with the rest of the business as it should be. So it's not a smooth process. They build something on the side, but they don't actually manage to get it used or scaled to a high level in its implementation. These are the 4 reasons that are most responsible for the failure of artificial intelligence implementation projects. But these are all avoidable, and I will show you how to avoid them systematically. Introducing the PRISM framework. The PRISM framework has been distilled from more than 10 years of experience. And what we do is we take a comprehensive approach rather than shooting straight for this part right here, the implementation of solutions. We think, what are the things that we need to do leading up to the implementation of an AI tool? And what are the things that we need to do following its implementation in order to ensure that it's successful? Rather than looking at it as some isolated gimmick that we can deploy without adequate thought. And so let's start with the first of these, defining the business problem. Here's a visual representation. At the base of our approach to really solidifying a problem is us considering how can we ... That how can we sets us up for an actual business problem that needs to be solved. For instance, how can we increase revenues by 10%? How can we sell 20% more widgets? How can we increase customer satisfaction or referral bonuses by 15%? This how can we allows us to think what is the business problem that we're trying to solve rather than how can we introduce an AI project, right? So the how can we starts with a business problem and it identifies a real business need. Divergent thinking is the next step, and this allows us to answer that question with many possibilities. When I work with clients, I like to think of 50 to 100 ways of answering this question. Really allow our creativity to go wild. And then step 3 is convergent thinking. You apply some filters. What is feasible? What is financially doable? What does the technology allow us to do right now? What will be desirable to our customers or our stakeholders? And you take 50 possibilities or 100 and you shortlist them to 2 or 3 or 5 at the most. And then you solidify those objectives with objectives and key results. So you define specific goals and time frames and metrics that shape the implementation and allow you to measure your success with time. That is defining the business problem, and that is what something around 65% of businesses completely fail to do, if not more. The next is researching and architecting. I'll break this down very, very simply. In order to approach an AI solution comprehensively, you need to take an inventory of where the business is right now, what its capabilities are, what data it has access to, and how it's already doing business. Once you've taken inventory of that, then you can improve on it. And that is number one, researching, and then architecting is building on top of what you've researched. So the framework that can help with this is the SSDA framework, where you ask yourself, where are you getting the data from? Where are you storing it? Where are you going to ship it to? Meaning like what services will rely on the availability of this particular data now that you have it? And then how can you automate that process as seamlessly as possible? You're going to do this twice. You're going to do it on the researching side. In other words, when you're documenting how business is done in the status quo today and yesterday. And you're going to do this on the architecting side when you develop a solution that's built on the status quo, that improves upon it. You're doing it twice. So this is the framework that allows you to really document where things are going, and it can get more nuanced. This is an overall starting point framework. Number three, implementing solutions. This is the part that everyone rushes to. These are the shiny AI data science projects that everybody wants almost as a matter of prestige, but they don't think about the precursor. It's like everyone wants to drive a Lambo, but they don't think about the hard work it takes to really get there, and they don't think about how much it costs to maintain it once they have it. It's still good to have a Lambo, but you need all of the precursors as well. So we've covered the precursors. We'll talk about the follow-up steps, but these are what I call the 3 A's: analytics, AI, and automation, and then generative AI. And I call them the 3 A's even though they're 4 topics, because generative AI is fundamentally rooted and built upon the other 3. It's rooted in analytics, it's rooted in AI, it's rooted in automation, and it's capable of providing those as capabilities. But generative AI is almost its own category because it is well known for almost creating new knowledge, creating new information, combining a lot of the other elements very, very effectively. Nevertheless, analytics can be understood as telling the story of the company's past. How have customers historically purchased in the past? What are their purchasing habits? What is the average revenue per customer? What are the different demographics that we're servicing? And so on and so forth. It tells a story that leads up to the current moment, but doesn't tell you what's happening in the future. That's where data science, as some call it, or artificial intelligence in its simplest elements, comes in. That's where you use predictive modeling and forecasting to extrapolate insights from the past and project them into the future going forward with some probabilistic range of accuracy. You also have tools that come under AI that include object recognition and computer vision, and some of these strike a very blurry line with generative AI. Automation is basically having a task that is so monotonous that it can be done with one's eyes closed, but it just has to be done. And if it's that simple to do, even if it's multiple steps stacked together, then we use some combination of analytics and AI and rules to replace people and get a machine to do it instead. Generative AI is the creation of new knowledge. It's using large language models to interact with people and speak almost as if it's a person, or to develop new images and art and creativity in a spirit that can emulate some people, and in some cases is more effective because it's faster or less expensive. Those are the 4 elements of the implementation of solutions, but just as we talked about the precursors, there's follow-up steps. The first of these is synthesis, and this is the people-facing element of a data science and AI project. Step number 1 within synthesis is you need to turn data into insights. What that means is you need to tell people what you're actually doing and how well a project is performing as you're implementing it. You need to get people to actually be aware of the progress of the AI project and to support it and to be aware of the steps that you're taking. Number 2, stakeholder buy-in. Some people are going to be averse to your AI project because they feel threatened that their job is being endangered, or they just don't understand what you're doing for any number of reasons. They have their old way and they want to stick to it. You need to persuade these people to get onto your side and to support you rather than to get in the way. Finally, when you do this with enough people and you get enough people to support your approach towards artificial intelligence, then we get into the area of change management or organizational change. And this is where you break out of a legacy mindset, as we talked about previously, and you move towards an AI startup mindset, not just as an individual, but as an organization. This is important because you need to change a culture of an organization if you want the individual incremental changes of AI that you're introducing to be long-lasting and sustainable. All of these together, synthesizing your thoughts, communicating your progress, iteratively and incrementally as your AI project ensues, getting individuals to buy in and changing the culture of your organization, all of this comes under synthesis, and it's why you need to be so people conscious in your AI projects, not only algorithmically intelligent. Finally, measurement. The first part of this is tracking your progress, right? Tracking, just capturing numerically how well you are doing. Measuring your progress against those objectives and key results that we talked about in the first phase of defining the problem. Communicating how well you're doing to the relevant stakeholders so that in step 3, iterating for long-term success, you can pivot, you can learn from your mistakes, you can build upon your strengths, and you can take into consideration the evolving reality of your organization, the people that are involved, the algorithms that are deployed, and the changing world in which your company and your team are all operating. Doing all of this effectively completes the PRISM framework. And if you perform these steps with detail and attention, and you don't rush through them, then you will be more successful than 98% of those who fail in their AI implementations, and you will be among the 2% that are most likely to get it right and succeed. The stakes in AI are high. There is a high ROI for doing it right, and potentially a huge loss of time and resources and motivation if you fail and you fail early. So implement the PRISM framework. This is a short introduction, and I'll give you 2 ways of expanding on your knowledge in this. Afterwards, because this is a short intro, we're going to offer a longer form of this same framework with much more detail in how to implement this step by step. And if you enjoy the depth of learning about this framework and you want to have a resource that you and your team can refer back to time and time again, then download the link in the description, which is a 20+ page guide that my team and I use in implementing the PRISM framework for any company in any industry, whether you are a founder, whether you are a manager within a company, or whether you're a developer and you want more of your people to get on board. It talks about the technical details. It talks about the people-facing responsibilities and the interpersonal diplomacy. And it talks about the organizational change that you need to take your AI startup mindset and apply it step by step, utilizing the PRISM framework. If you like this kind of content, like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll follow up with a lot more detail. And if you want specific details on how this framework can apply to your AI project, leave a comment, reach out, and I'll get back to you. Let's talk about this. Peace.